Welcome to the Nordic Wolf Podcast. I am your host, Eric Darris, here again with David Christensen. We're here to talk some basketball today. David, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's a good Sunday morning so far. Yet last night was a crazy game. Excited to talk about it.
Yeah, just in general, I haven't been on here since after game two. Obviously, game three, we had a very impressive wire to wire blowout. Last night, I think the Wolves broke the Nuggets specifically in the second half. And, unfortunately, I wish that was the main takeaways from the game, but obviously a couple of key injuries. So that kind of seems like the obvious place to start. And specifically Anthony Edwards' injury, which, about an hour and a half ago, we got news that it was probably best case scenario, in my opinion, with the hyperextended knee along with a bone bruise. According to Shams, it's a multi-week injury. It seems pretty similar to the Giannis injury from uh, the 2021 playoff run.
Good
Oddly enough, in
callback.
the game, Dante got injured for the playoffs that game and didn't play the rest of the playoffs. And he was back in a week, but I know Jokic had a hyperextended knee earlier in the year, and he was out about 3.5, 4 weeks.
hmm Regular season versus
I
playoffs.
think there's any chance he's back during this series with Denver.
So
And I think unlikely that he gets in with the Spurs. I don't know if we were to play the Spurs, but
yeah, I think I was doing the math. I think round two starts probably May 4th to May 6th. So May 4th is a week from tomorrow. So it'd probably start Monday through Wednesday of next week.
okay.
So I don't think Ant will probably be ready for game one or game two. Maybe game two. He's a quick healer, but probably not even that. But maybe for a game three type situation, which would be about a week after that, maybe he could be ready for that. But he is such a quick healer that I wouldn't put anything past him. And it's funny, I was thinking about it this morning. I'm like, I don't think Ant tore his ACL or whatever. And generally, that's the side to side motion where you do that. But I had a feeling it was just going to be what it was, which was the best case scenario. So I'm very happy to see that.
Yeah, I agree. It just felt too when I was reading a lot of the reports of insiders and things. I think the team thought that it was just a hyperextension, just based off how people were talking about the injury. I heard a lot of people saying it was a hyperextension with how he got hurt, but obviously until you do the MRI and get the testing, you don't want to just come out and say that. But for the most part, I know just from high school when we would go through uh, health classes, like they'd show you how easy it was to test for an ACL. And my assumption is they tested for it and it tested that his ACL was intact. Obviously, there can be minor tears or things like that, or other ligaments that were in danger. And I'm obviously watching the injury looked pretty bad, but I know those hyperextension in the knees are I would say they're more common than an ACL tear when it comes to basketball. But
I
yeah,
would say
not
the best case or the best thing that happened out of this was looking beyond the playoffs and just realizing that it's a pretty minor injury. So future Ant is going to be intact and 100%. So I'm happy there. Now, obviously, we want him back for the playoff run, but I'm just happy that he's going to be good for the future because even an ACL tear, you can have your second one much easier when you have that first one. So I'm just happy he's not going to deal with any of that.
Yeah, and if you have the ACL tear, obviously he's not going to be ready for next season for most of the year at this point. So you're
Yeah.
looking at a likely kind of reshuffling year. It takes a lot of what the team building I think would be in the offseason and how the team plans to retool. Because I do think regardless, we're going to see some decent size moves made, but I do think with the emergence of how Io DeSumo played last night and how he's played when he's getting a starting moment, I just kind of feel like it takes the chances of them making a big swing trade for like a Kyrie or something pretty much off the table because I do think they're going to have to probably use a mid-level exception on Io. I wouldn't be shocked. We'll get into Dante in a second if they try and offer some type of mid-level kind of maybe 1 to 2 year extension for Dante just so he doesn't have to worry. I know next year's the last year in his deal. He's going to probably want to have a little bit of security going forward because it's always tough if he doesn't play next year getting a decent contract. And I think he's still young enough where he will see that, but we'll get more into Dante in a second.
They
With
have Io's bird rights, so he's going to be over the mid-level exception. I can't remember exactly what that's at this time. It used to be the 10 to 12, 14 million area. I don't know what it
yeah,
is
that's
now. He's going to be beyond that, but they have his bird rights, so they can go above their salary cap to actually extend him. So that's the good news. Dante, I wouldn't give him an extension, honestly. I might just let it play out next year and just say, or if they can get him on a cheap deal, maybe.
yeah. If they get him to a mid-level exception, I would take
Sure.
that.
He might never be play as a Timberwolf again, obviously. Is there a chance he could be ready for the postseason next year? Potentially, we'll see, but I hope the best for him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think what he brings to the team is underrated. The one thing I was kind of thinking about that probably played a part that the team maybe mismanaged at the end of the year is when they were giving everybody rest and things like that. I know he wanted to play the 82 games. Looking back in hindsight now, I wish we probably would have redid it. And I mean, there's a lot of talk about this in NBA circles as is that the 82 game season with all the back to backs is playing a major part in all these Achilles tears that you're seeing in the playoffs because they're not happening. I mean, they do happen in the regular season, but not at the rate you're seeing in the postseason. And it's usually these high durability players that are putting in significant minutes. I mean, Dante's probably averaging 24 to 28 minutes a game
Hmm.
without looking at any stats from Dante's season. But yeah, I just the what Dante brings to the team is going to be hard to replace. I mean, I think Io is a more explosive scorer, but I
Hmm.
just don't know if you can replace the effort that Dante puts in on a night in and night out basis. I feel like we get more out of Dante than just about anybody on a consistent basis because he puts in the effort. And it just sucks when you see a guy that is doing it the right way go down. And um, I mean, you could see the injury when it happened that it was a Achilles tear, but like you say, it's part of the game. And unfortunately, with how the playoffs are structured these days, a lot of it just comes down to who can stay the healthiest and, you know, kind of jumping into where the Wolves are at now. I mean, it's hard not to kind of wonder what could have been if Ant doesn't get back in a decent amount of time and get back healthy because what we've seen so far against the Nuggets has been pretty impressive compared to where the Wolves. I mean, Chris Finch even said yesterday that he didn't know if this team had it in them to flip the switch because it was so bad during the regular season. I don't know how anyone could watch that what we saw over the 82 game season and think this was possible what we've seen in the last week.
Yeah. Well, you generally can't just flip a switch. And you were going back to when you were saying Dante is such a hard worker. Io is one of those guys that actually I think works as hard as Dante, close to it. I think they're at the same level. So that's the good news about good news there. But yeah, I think even Tim Conley had some comments prior to the playoffs that he was even kind of unsure if we're going to be able to beat Denver. And obviously all the experts picked Denver. So the series is absolutely crazy. I was just looking at the stats. The Joker is shooting 18.5% from three. Um, and Murray is shooting, what is he shooting? 26.5 from three. So yeah, they're struggling a lot. And then on our end, Io is shooting 52.9% from three, and Dante was shooting 47.8. So obviously that'll be a tough loss there. But so do you have any worries that Denver's going to be able to put together three straight wins? What do you think the chance of that happening? 1 out of 10.
Higher than what people want to believe, I think.
I think so too. Yeah, I was seeing where you're going to go with that because I think they could rattle off three. I would be absolutely shocked if the Wolves win here this game five. I think Denver has a really great chance to win. I think they're going to be at home. The crowd's going to be in it. Well, the crowd might not be super in it at first because they're probably down, but they'll get in it. I think some of the shots are going to start going down for Jokic, Murray, and co. And then, it comes back here for game six, and anything can happen there. Anything can happen there, and then it moves to game seven where anything can happen there. So I don't think the series is over by any means. And I think the Wolves have probably, 65, 70% chance to win the series, but I think Denver still has around, a good 30% chance to win.
Betting odds have it right at about like 53% chance for the Wolves to win it.
That's crazy
So,
that those betting odds give them 47% chance to come back down 3-1. I understand that Ant's out, but that's still a little crazy to me.
well, I mean, going back to how we got to the series, Ant being out, I think any of games 1 through 4 don't have a huge difference in the score.
Mhm.
I mean, I actually think the game probably is closer yesterday if Ant plays more minutes over Io.
Yep, I was thinking about that. Io was 13 for 17, 43 points, 5 for 5 from 3, and 12 for 12 from free throw line. So, yeah, he didn't miss basically. Do you think Terrence Shannon's going to come into the fold more, and some Mike Conley as well? Probably. I saw him playing. Obviously he played a little bit last night, but yeah,
So Conley and Desumu will probably enter into the starting lineup. I think Bones, they'll want to keep that kind of the energy that Bones brings. They want to bring that off the bench. Conley has honestly played really good for this series and has been since he kind of re-entered the fold. He's actually shot the ball incredibly well from three, despite I think he missed like I don't think he made a three for like over a month at one point in the season.
well, he has the
It's
energy coming off the bench. He's not playing anymore. It is hard to come off the bench and just hit shots, so that's great to see him do that so far.
but I mean, where I feel good about it is, like I said, I don't think Ant necessarily makes a huge difference in this series with how he's already on one. I think Jaden and Rudy are really what have broken this Denver uh, attack. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense how this number one rated offense has just been. They just let go of the rope so easily. I mean, Jaden talked shit, and they basically haven't been able. The only fight they've shown is when Jaden made a layup with 1 second left, and Jokic took offense to that, despite him making a shot right before that when he could have just let the time run out. Apparently, it's only okay if Jokic does it, not if anybody else or any other team does. I thought that was kind of a clown move. It'll be interesting. I don't think we see any suspensions from that, especially the NBA is never going to suspend Jokic when they're in an elimination game.
I love Jokic.
And
I have a hard.
if
I was gonna ask you that question if you thought any suspensions were gonna come. I'm not really sure, but I'd probably lean your way and say no.
if you suspend anybody and then Jokic is not suspended, I don't think they could suspend anybody but Jokic to start. So since he did start the confrontation, I suppose you could probably look at Jaden but Jaden really didn't do anything. Julius looked incensed and was swinging at people, I feel like, but I think it's such a mess that I just think they might have some fines and just kind of call it a day at that point. And they don't want to destroy their ratings by suspending Jokic, just like they overturned a suspension on Luka. That's just kind of what the NBA is going to do, I think, and I don't blame them. I don't want them to suspend anybody. I think it would be just stupid at this point, but I don't know. I've never seen Jokic so
Rattled,
flustered,
yeah.
and it's crazy because the only time it seemed like he cared was during Jaden making that free throw because he scored 10 points in the first quarter and then 14 the rest of the game. Didn't score a point in the fourth quarter. I mean,
Shaq after the game, he hates Rudy. I'm sure you know.
God, yeah. Yeah,
And
that was
he was unwilling to admit that Rudy was the reason that Jokic was struggling, which I found funny, laughable. But obviously, Jokic is just not shooting well too, and
yeah,
he shot really bad from three. I think after he tweaked his wrist or something like that.
yeah,
But still, Shaq just will not give Rudy his flowers at all. Rudy's gonna be a surefire Hall of Famer. I think you need to start giving him some props.
yeah. I don't know what Shaq's issue with Rudy is. I mean, obviously, Rudy is a bad version of Shaq. I mean, he's about as dominant defensively. Obviously, he can't catch the ball like Shaq could, but I just think I mean, I'm surprised because really, since Jokic and Denver kind of emerged, Rudy has typically offered zero resistance to Jokic scoring the ball. I mean, he's scored on him at will. He's had over 50 against him, over 40 against him, over 30 against him. And he's still scoring points, but at the volume he's shooting. I mean, when we previewed the series, you were talking about how we don't care if he puts up 40 points if he's not getting 15 assists. Well, right now he's not doing either of those. He's scoring 20 to 25 points and getting somewhere between 4 and 8 to 9 assists per game. It's
7.8 he's averaging. I was literally just going to bring this up, so that's a good callback. Yeah, we were talking about, can he get or if he got 40 points and, 5 to 7, 5 to 8 assists versus, 30 points or 25 to 30 points and 14 assists. You'd much rather have the lower assist count and more points. But he's not doing either of those. His points is low and his assists are low, so he's struggling a lot.
and credit a lot of that to a lot of the Wolves' other role players. They're sticking to Tim Hardaway, Cam Johnson. Christian Brown just sucks, so they don't really have to stick to him. Like, he's terrible. That's got to be one of the worst contracts in basketball. I can't believe they paid him 100. Like, he has the same contract as Naz Reid.
But at the time, it didn't seem crazy. He was an excellent player, or not excellent, but a very good player. I don't think the contract seemed crazy at the time. It looks bad now, obviously, but
Well, and it's untradeable. I mean, the Nuggets, they have to question how their team is built, and they don't have a lot of flexibility without trading big pieces. And the only person I think they could trade that outside of Jokic that has any value at this point would be Murray. I don't think you get much for Gordon at this point with his injury history. And
he's
honestly,
over the hill.
right now, the only player I think I respect on Denver is Aaron Gordon because he's the only one that seems to actually have any care. I mean, the fact that they put him out there yesterday was pathetic. And David Adelman is a joke, in my opinion. Did you see his thing about how he basically trashed the type of player that Jaden McDaniels is after the game?
No, tell me about it.
So the quote was, let's look it up here so I don't.
Fumble it.
So David Adelman was asked about Jaden McDaniels' uh, end of the game thing, and his quote was, well, first he was saying how he didn't people he was mad that their media said they weren't competitive, and he said he thought they were very competitive, which is a pretty funny thing. So sorry. All right, here we go. Adelman's quote: I didn't like what McDaniels did. The game was over. In 2026, that stuff just doesn't happen anymore. That's something that happens in the 80s where teams would continue to score, but that's who he is.
It's just a pointless statement by a pointless coach who looks like that Mad TV character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't know. He just sounds, sour grapes right there, right?
to me, Chris Finch has severely outcoached him throughout the series. The adjustments we made after game one, and it sounds like Finch kind of let the team have it after game one, which I don't think a lot of people, and myself included, kind of questioned Chris Finch's job. At this point, I think he's 100% safe. I don't see how you move on from him. This team has proven yet again that they do know how to flip a switch, that they'll probably be a frustrating regular season team again, but they'll be competitive. But let's kind of move on in terms of where, we both kind of believe there's a chance, a better than 50% chance that the Wolves do advance. I think they can win one of these 3 games, especially with how they've played, as long as we get a decent performance from Io. But it looks like, I would say, if you advance, an 85 to 90% chance you're going against the San Antonio Spurs. How do you, and for all intents and purposes, let's just act like Anthony Edwards is unlikely to be able to play. Do you think there's a chance they can still beat the Spurs without Ant?
0. 0%. Yeah. Well, not 0, but
I have it like a 20.
20%. Yeah. Their guards, they're in San Antonio. Stephen Castle, Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox. Well, De'Aaron Fox, but he's actually how is De'Aaron Fox doing? Not so good. But
No, he's
Stephen
been.
Castle and Dylan Harper are doing incredible. So I think from a guard perspective, obviously we have Io. But outside of that, I think we'd be absolutely cooked. And then you add in Wimby on top of that, which, what I'm guessing is they're going to keep Wimby out for what game 4 is coming up here. They'll keep
I
Wimby out, and then they'll probably bring him in if they lose. But they're probably gonna play it and see the Spurs are gonna see, "Hey, let's have Wemby out again. Let his head heal." And if they lose and it's 2-2, they'll bring Wemby back. If they win, then they're up 3-1. They'll keep Wemby out again. I don't see any chance that Wemby wouldn't be ready for the second round because I was hearing some people talk about, is his head injury concussion bad enough to where he might not be ready for second round? And I'd be really shocked by that. Now, obviously, there was like Joe Mauer back in the day. He had a head injury, Justin Morneau, baseball, and they were out for multiple months. So I guess a head injury is different for each and every person.
Yeah, I mean, basketball, they just take so much less trauma to the head, I would say, where I mean, it seemed like to me that he was close to being ready for game 3.
Hmm.
So, the fact that he traveled with the team already, I think he's ready to go already. I wouldn't be shocked if he plays in game 4, but like you say, at this point, it looks like they can beat Portland without him. I would take them to still win the series even without Wemby, just because of how Castle and Dylan Harper have played. Yeah, I think so. Obviously, we have Io back there. Unfortunately, Io's best quality is his driving, and that gets shut down against the Spurs. Unfortunately, everything that you do to beat the Nuggets doesn't work against the Spurs, basically.
Yeah. Castle is currently shooting an insane percentage from three, and I don't have it. Castle's shooting 40%. Dylan Harper's shooting 57% from three. So they're absolutely killing it from three. So obviously that's not going to continue like the 57% stuff. But yeah, those guys are excellent. And I mean, what are we going to stick Rudy on Victor? How do you think that defense would play out from
I
a
think you go
game
back
plan
to
perspective?
Julius.
Julius on him? Yeah,
I thought
because we saw that during the regular season where Julius basically kind of bullied him a little bit, pushed up against him, and didn't allow Wimby to do what he wanted. What you want to do with Wimby is you want to force him to shoot and not be able to drive, and that is 100% key. And then hope that the other guys on the outside are not hitting a ton of threes. That's really the only way you're going to stop the
yeah,
Spurs.
I think you kind of play it like the Wolves played it against Denver in 2024, where you have your power forward kind of up under Wemby, trying to give him trouble, and Rudy kind of plays the roamer. And if Wemby does get past him, you have that backup center to rim protect. It's trickier. Obviously, Wemby's going to break through that. I think where the Wolves would have an advantage, even without Ant in that series, is just playoff experience. We see it time and time again where young teams go into the playoffs. There's never been a young team like the Spurs that have gone on to win a championship.
True. And I think even if Ant doesn't play for a significant portion of the Spurs series, our team is going to have that not give a shit attitude because they know they're down Ant. So they're just going to go all balls to the wall 100%. And who knows? I mean, the way that our team is playing, the Wolves are playing right now, they might be able to contend. I mean, honestly, I mean, I know we're giving like a 20% chance for them to win the series, but the way they're playing right now with the energy they're giving, who knows, man? And like you said, the Spurs are so young that they might falter.
Yeah. And just in general, you can't use the regular season barometer for to measure the Wolves at this point because we don't know the I mean, when they put in their effort, they're as good as anyone in the NBA. I mean, without Ant, I don't think they're good enough to beat OKC because we know how good Oklahoma City is in this environment. And but the Spurs, I mean, they've they I mean, they're beating Portland pretty good, but Portland's also a team with no real playoff experience outside of Drew Holiday. And Drew Holiday's at the tail end of his career and was never a star. You can't you should if you're depending on Drew Holiday to be a star for you, you're in trouble. To me, he's like a 4th or 5th best player on your team.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
he's a less than 30-minute a night point guard. So, I just really don't see the I don't see as much of a threat in San Antonio, but Wemby's also different. And I think, unfortunately, it's just going to get harder and harder because this team is going to get more playoff battle tested. And as of right now, it looks like the future through the next 3 to 5 years is going to be a fight between them and Oklahoma City, unless teams can really reshape how their roster is built. And, you know, obviously this is more of an off-season topics, what the Wolves can do. They really, with their lack of trade assets or draft assets, it's going to have to come through trades and smart maneuvering by Tim Connolly. And
Like
they're
that
never,
trade for Ryo.
yeah, they're never going to be able to just sign a big free agent because you're going to, I mean, we have enough guys where you're going to have to continue paying. And you just, the Wolves aren't a hot free agent destination, although Ant does, I think, increase the likelihood that a guy like a Kyrie Irving or someone like that might want to come here on a discounted deal potentially.
Well, and Kyrie, funny enough, I just remember back in the day when Jimmy Butler came here, Kyrie was legit interested in coming to Minnesota. It was one of the 3 or 4 teams that Shams or who's that other guy who
Woj.
Woj. Yeah, can't even think of his name anymore. Yeah, I think Woj had Minnesota as one of the top 3 or 4 teams. So he was interested in the past, so I think he would certainly come here. But yeah, like you said, I think the Wolves are going to compete with the Spurs and okay, are they going to be quite as good as them during the regular season? No. I mean, we just see obviously it's just not in them. Hopefully next year they can mature a little bit and maybe take the regular season a little more importantly. Like I think Io takes things very seriously, so hopefully he can input some of his seriousness into the team and make them play a little bit better during the regular season, especially since Io is going to be put into the starting lineup. He completely changes this team. Imagine if we didn't have Io right now. How
I would
our
actually,
lack of pace, our transition would be struggling. He hustles. He's dribbling everywhere. He's going this way. He's going that way. So he's just been monumental for this series.
yeah, I mean, that was Tim Connolly, one of his best moves. Obviously, the Rudy trade is to me paid off tenfold. Anybody that thinks that was a bad trade is just doesn't know basketball, I don't believe. The value that Rudy has brought in. I will admit I was somebody when we traded for Rudy. I'm like, really? Rudy Gobert? Like that's the guy we want to bring in. But his experience and the play or the defensive anchor that he has provided, there's no way I think we have two Western Conference runs without Rudy.
Well, and in 2024, Rudy, what his primary role was not to cover Jokic. That was Towns. Rudy was more of the roamer. And I think the difference in this series is that Jokic was his number 1 priority. So I think he put a lot of time and effort into really studying Jokic's game. And I think that's why he's been so successful. When in 2024, when he didn't play so well on defense against the Joker that game, I think it was because he was more in that roamer role.
So I guess back to the finishing off of the Spurs. If without Ant, I mean, where do you see the keys to victory are then that are realistic? Because I don't like the series for IL. I think he would have to be at least. I mean, to me, it's my clear thing is you'd have to you got to shoot better from three, which we haven't shot well at all in the Denver series. I think you got to reshape basically how your offense is run against the Spurs. Then, because everything we're doing now is attack the basket. They don't have rim protectors. You legit just can't attack the basket against the Spurs. I think you have to really push Io on the court anytime Wemby's not on the court, because I do think that is when you can get a run. But Cornette's not a bad rim protector either. But he's not. It's not impossible to score against him. I think you got to hit threes, which obviously losing Dante there hurts because Dante's a top 3 catch and shoot 3-point guy for the Wolves. So
Uh-huh.
Io Bones, Julius is going to struggle offensively, I think, in that series, but I think he can attack from the mid range. I think that's the other place he can attack. But unfortunately, like drop coverage, Wemby's kind of a cheat code for where he can do drop coverage and still kind of guard the mid-range shots. It's why he's such a problem for the Thunder because Shea can't get to his elbow jump shot and get it off cleanly. Even if he beats his guy, Wemby's there, where against almost any other team, he's got that space of 5 feet and you can't do drop coverage against OKC if you're any other team, basically.
Hmm. I think Wolves are
I
going
don't
to have
know.
to do a lot of drive and kick and hope they make a ton of threes. And then on defense, obviously, we have to extend Wemby, um, get him out from under the hoop and have to contest some threes, but we're going to have to hit threes for that to occur. Because if he's under the hoop, There, like you said, there's no driving lanes at all.
Yeah. So overall, I think as nice as it was to get the win yesterday, it felt kind of like a loss just with all the injuries that occurred.
Hmm.
And it was hard for me to get super excited because I do think with a healthy team, that's a Spurs series would be really fun. But yeah, unfortunately, like I said, that's what the playoffs is about is who stays the healthiest.
Yeah, I predict Ant will come back like game 3. I'm just gonna make the prediction right now against the Spurs.
Yeah. I hope you're right, but we'll find out. Uh,
So that would
so
be
I
about
guess,
two. That would be about 2 weeks from now, give or take.
yeah, I guess the only thing that worries me is he's already got one injured knee and it was a struggle. Hopefully, the couple of weeks off helps with that too.
It will. I think it 100% will help. And I was just thinking about that. He's going to get time to rest his initial right knee that was injured, and so this this other knee is now injured. But yeah, I think it'll give him some time to heal the runner's knee. I think they call it. Yeah.
But all right, well, let's just jump into then before we go, just kind of follow up on the rest of the NBA playoffs so we can start Spurs Blazers. We kind of already went into where we both, I think it ends in five. I don't think the Blazers win again, to be honest.
Neither. Stephen Castle, yeah, 75% from three in game 3, 33 points. Dylan Harper was 80% from three and 27 points. So they're shooting lights out, and obviously that's not going to happen every game. Um, I don't know, man. I could see the Blazers pulling off one more, but I'm. It depends if Wimby comes back. I think if Wimby doesn't come back, I think the Blazers are going to win one more. If Wimby comes back, Spurs are going to win the next couple.
Yeah. So then Thunder Suns.
What's there
I
to talk
mean,
about there?
well, Thunder are gonna. I thought maybe the Suns could steal a game, and if it would have been any game, I would have predicted it be game three. That's kind of the buzzsaw game for teams where, the underdog fans are excited and the place is usually that is the most likely game for a blowout, basically. I think if you statistically look at playoff history, even over game one. But the Thunder just look unreal right now. Pretty hard to not have them picked as the favorite to win the title. They're just so deep, and whenever they need a basket, Shea is like it feels like it's just impossible for him to miss when they need a basket. And he had 42 yesterday. It looks effortless.
No Jalen Williams either, which he's obviously a very good player. So I wonder when he'll be able to come back with his hamstring injury.
Yeah, I mean, again,
They
I'll
don't
go
need
back
him.
to
They
the
don't need him,
Spurs.
but
The Spurs still screwed this all up by losing to the Nuggets back in the day because both the Nuggets and the Wolves would be moving on to the next round, and Oklahoma City would be facing Denver, who honestly, after watching Denver this series, I think the Thunder would have dispatched them in 5 games, probably.
I bet the Nuggets are wishing they lost that game now.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, I mean, it doesn't matter for them. They're not beating the Thunder with how they've played because the Thunder can do the exact same thing defensively to them that the Wolves are doing. Lou Dort, I don't know if you saw, he had another great tripping moment last night against Devin Booker that he stuck his leg out. Booker had to go to the locker room. He did end up coming back, but
Devin
that team,
Booker is like a big non-nutritious meal. Like he obviously will give you all the points. He'll have those excellent shots, but he just provides nothing on defense. He's kind of just an empty stat sheet. He's basically like the opposite of Ant from like a high scorer perspective. Like Ant kind of gives you the overall two-way player. Devin Booker is just one of those guys, kind of Levine type, who's just going to give you the fancy offense, but he doesn't provide anything else. So you're never going to go far in the playoffs with him.
no. No, and that's why, like, he was great in the Olympic run for Team USA in 2024, I think it
But
was.
there, he can just be a high-powered offensive player. He doesn't need to really bring the defense because they had LeBron and everyone else that was
Yeah,
providing
it's
that.
the same with KD. He can just hoop, you know. And
KD is a lot of empty calories too. Yep.
yep. So, but anyways, yeah, I think Thunder. gonna finish that one off in game 4.
Absolutely. There's just no chance to me that they're not going to.
And then the last one in the West, Lakers Rockets.
Sweep? Do you see the
I
sweep coming? Or I think I have the Rockets winning this next one, actually.
I have no idea. The Rockets are just, it's hard not to make fun of them at this point. They're, when you say low basketball IQ, that's just unbelievable. Did you see game 3 at all or no?
Yeah, I watched some of it. So
Yeah,
the
did you see the
Rockets,
end?
yes, they totally fumbled that game, 100%.
Yeah.
Mm,
I mean, I don't know what Jabari Smith Jr. was doing,
that's
and
embarrassing, dude.
Reed Shepherd. I mean, it's laughable how
Embarrassment.
everything Katie said about them in his burner account is true. I think it's hilarious that KD, that's one of the places he wanted to go, because anyone that studied basketball said Houston was a terrible fit for KD because he doesn't want to be the guy that has to lead their offense. He can't handle a double team. If you saw him in game 2, he was responsible for 9 turnovers. Like,
Yep, saw that.
and a lot of it was the team. There was one where he's getting double teamed and there's 3 guys within about 5 feet of each other. So 2 guys can easily cover all 3 guys.
He can't
I
take
think,
it to the hole anymore, and he
yeah,
hasn't been able to for probably a couple of years, even really with the Suns. He couldn't take it to the hole anymore, so he's just this three-point and then mid-range shooter. Now, obviously, he's an excellent shooter, but if you can't take it to the hole, there's only so much you're gonna do. Because if he can take it to the hole, then he can kick it out to wide open three-point guys. Now, they don't really have anyone who can shoot much threes on the Rockets, but I'm just saying. A lot of it's just this slow-paced ISO ball. I'm so happy the Wolves did not get KD, and I'm not gonna lie, I kinda wanted him a little bit. I think you said you didn't want him at the time, right? Or did you want him?
no, I did want him at a certain price. I didn't want to give up. Well, and we would have given up Rudy, I think, for it, which would have been a giant mistake.
Dude.
I mean, we would have had no center or no point guard.
And
And
think of the series against Denver without Rudy's drop coverage where you can really stay on Murray and then stay on Jokic at the same time. We would have none of that. I mean, just imagine how much better Denver would be doing without Rudy out there, even with KD added to our offense.
yeah, I mean, I think the only logical, had you moved like Julius for KD, sure. I think that would have been fine, but I wouldn't be shocked if KD ends up saying he wants out of Houston at the end of this year. And,
He's
you
a
know,
bit of a cancer.
yeah, at this point, I don't know why anyone would want to take on his contract if you're wanting to be a competitive team. He's just not a guy that has really brought winning culture anywhere outside of Golden State, where, again, he didn't have to do anything. All he had to do is be an open catch and shoot guy.
And let's talk about LeBron a little bit. 25.3 points, 9.7 rebounds, and 8.7 assists, 2 steals. The guy's playing out of his mind, hitting about 44% from 3-point too, all at 41 years old. Wow. Props to LeBron, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, hard to not get a little nostalgic over LeBron's play.
hmm
I think it's the last time we'll see play like this.
Well, because next playoffs they're probably going to have Reeves and Luca back, and Reeves I think is close to coming back, and Luca will probably be a second round comeback. So, do you think the Lakers? I'm kind of looking forward a little bit. What do you think about Lakers against OKC? I think OKC will probably handle him in 5 or 6, but I don't know, man. I mean, the way the Lakers are playing, if they can input Reeves and if Luca is relatively healthy, you never know, man. Honestly, the Lakers might put up a bit of a fight there
I still have Thunder in 4.
in 4.
They've obliterated them all regular season. Austin Reeves just cannot handle the ball pressure from OKC. And I don't think Luca, even if he comes back, I don't think either of them are going to be in rhythm. And they were getting their ass kicked by OKC when they were in rhythm. I mean, before Luca got hurt, he was forcing the issue. Oklahoma City's just so good at breaking you down mentally. So then you just give up and quit and you can't get the ball. I mean, they get these runs where you can't get the ball past half court. The Wolves have been doing that. That's what is so disheartening about these injuries for me is the Wolves have basically played the same level of defense that Oklahoma City has been doing against one of, or not one of the best offense of the year and one of the best offenses of all time, and they're just absolutely clowning them.
Well, let's remember this. I know this maybe sounds a little crazy, but I'll take OKC in 6 games. You'll take them in 4 next series. We'll just remember that, okay?
Yeah, outside of any injuries that could change that narrative, I guess. If I think Jalen Williams will be back for that series too. It sounds like he had a grade 1 hamstring, but those soft tissues can be a pain. But I don't think the Thunder are going to be all that concerned about bringing him back, even for the Lakers.
Get this stat. Houston has attempted 44 more field goals than the Lakers in game 2 and 3. Isn't that
I know.
crazy? But here's the
Yeah,
thing. LeBron, 43.8% from 3. Luke Kennard, 52.9. Rui, 52.9. Rui Hachimura on a lot of attempts too, hitting
Marcus
52.9.
Smart's been.
Marcus Smart's 50%. So they're shooting the lights off from the 3, and obviously that's not going to sustain. It might stop during the OKC series, and that might be where the 4-0 sweep comes in play there.
I kind of wonder if Houston went into that series just thinking it was going to be easy and they didn't prep.
I don't know, man.
I mean,
Şengün was decent he was good the last game. He was a bum the first couple games, or the 4th game he was pretty good. Wait, yeah, they played 4th, up
they're 3-0 right
3
now.
nothing. Then they're going to the 4th. Yeah, Şengün
Yeah.
played good the last game, but he was a bum the first 2 games. They really needed him to be a star.
Yeah, his style is play is very similar to Jokic, just kind of like a not as good version
Hmm.
and not as consistent. His defensive effort, though, pretty similar, where he's just kind of a liability out there on defense. I mean, Men Thompson's been decent, but again, he's kind of got the Ben Simmons problem where he can't shoot. So all he can do is dunk it or lay the ball in. Obviously, his defense is incredible, but the Rockets have the problem where Reed Shepherd, Jabari Smith Jr. are both very exploitable on defense, and LeBron is really good at still getting switches, getting to that, and that's where I think the Wolves would have been much more of a problem, even with how the Lakers have played, because we don't have those weaknesses that Houston does. And I also just think Udoka is kind of an overrated coach, and I think he's really bad when it comes to X's and O's. And I don't think the team really likes each other in Houston either. I just think everything seems broken there.
I think they're
And
misfit pieces too. Like the roster
yeah,
doesn't make sense.
I think they should have never done the KD trade. I think they should have kept trying to build and maybe trade for more role player guys that can bring something that they didn't have. Putting all your eggs in just a 37-year-old's basket who can shoot, but also doesn't bring you any ball handling skills or anything like that, which is what your team really could use, I think would go a long way because their half court offense is pitiful. It's one of the worst half court offenses in all of basketball and definitely the worst in the playoffs. It's ugly to watch them play. They're truly a horrendous team.
When they got KD probably locked up for a couple more years too, they gave him that contract extension. So yeah,
Yep.
their future is not looking so bright. They should have kept Jalen Green. I'm not a huge Jalen Green fan. Like obviously, honestly, he's a lot of empty calories too, just like Booker. But I would have rather kept Jalen Green or traded him for some other pieces than for KD. I think that was just a terrible move.
Yeah. So Cavs Raptors, Cavs up 2-1. Game 4 is today. By the time people are hearing this, it'll either be 3-1 or 2-2. Any thoughts on where that series is going? I think Cavs are going to win it in 6 at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Cavs are going to win 6. Raptors snapped their 12-game playoff losing streak with that win, so that was kind of cool to see. That's a lot of losses straight. Emmanuel Quickly's out. Obviously, that's a big piece that's missing for them. Honestly, I could see the Cavs winning the next 2 here, but yeah. So I think Cavs will win the next 2 and put the series
Yeah, I
away.
think if Quickly was healthy, I actually think this could be a 7-game series. But I just the Raptors, I don't know. I mean, they're one of those teams that like they don't really have a star player. They've got a lot of just really good players, but to me, they're a team that needs to make some moves to try and get in a star player to that is worthy of a max contract. I don't think Brandon Ingram is that guy, but I think Brandon Ingram's a great second piece, but
Excellent mid-range shooter. I like Ingram, but yeah, definitely
and I
not
mean
a.
Scotty. I think Scotty Barnes is a really good young player, but also at the same time, I just don't. I think
He's too volatile on
yeah,
offense. You know,
defensively he's obviously incredible, but
amazing, but
you need
he's a brick house, literally.
you need offense, consistent offense to become a star player. Offense is
Absolutely. You need
for
that
your stars and
offensive
is more.
powerhouse that also can bring some defense on the other side. Or you need the offensive player who's we talked about Booker being empty calories. You need the offensive all-around player like a Luka who's still going to dish out those assists and things of that nature. But yeah,
And then Knicks Hawks 2-2 at this point. It felt like the Knicks kind of figured out the Hawks. That's been outside of the Wolves. Well, actually, I think that series has been now better than the Wolves Nuggets at this point.
Towns posted his first postseason triple double, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. So that was really cool. He's the fourth Nick ever to do that. So
Yeah.
interesting.
CJ McCollum has been fantastic for the Hawks.
I've always liked him too in his Blazers days. I was always a huge fan of his when he was running with Dame.
I thought through game 3, he was out. I'd watched most of those games. He had really outplayed Jalen Brunson. I didn't catch game 4 really of that, so I can't speak to that. I just know Towns was kind of the big factor in game 4. I think Towns, for whatever reason, the Knicks seem to want to involve Josh Hart and is it Mikal Bridges? Yeah, they want to involve them significantly more than Cat, and it just doesn't like Cat needs to be your offensive number 2 guy,
They
just
don't
like
have
you.
set plays. They don't have very many set plays, is from what I understand. And
Yeah,
Cat really needs those set plays. He likes to live in that kind of offensive structure more than just the one where it's kind of more free flowing, I guess.
yeah. So I mean, I think at this point, I think that series still could easily go 7.
I think it's going to go 7. I'm going to predict that. I'm going to predict Knicks in 7.
I'd take the Knicks in 7 also, I think at that point. But the
Now
Hawks are,
Nikhil was really struggling with his shot at first. I wonder if he's improved that. I don't have the stats on me, but
I mean, you see it every year in the playoffs, guys that are high volume 3
Nikhil was
shooters. I
terrible
mean,
last year on offense.
yeah, and I mean, playoff basketball just wears down on your body so much more. The physicality increases so much to such a higher degree that I think your legs are so tired. I
Nikhil's
think
shooting
every year.
percentage is horrible at 34.6. His 3-point shooting's 43, so he's doing well there, but his overall field goal percentage is absolutely horrible.
So, yeah,
Kuminga is 18% from 3, but 51% field goal percentage. Man, I really think the Warriors screwed up giving up Kuminga. I don't know what you think.
I don't think Kaminga would ever work there.
Yeah, him and Steve Kerr just
Well,
didn't drive.
so I've always kind of thought Terrence Shannon Jr. is kind of similar to Kaminga, where they're just not guys that are going to be successful if you bring them in for 15 minutes and have them stand in the corner. They need to have the ball in their hands. They need to be driving the hoop.
Yep.
And that's why I don't know if Terrence Shannon Jr. will ever necessarily work in Minnesota if Ant's healthy because
He's
he,
not going to be able to control the ball like he did in Illinois as much.
nope. And so I think you almost need to start training Terrence Shannon Jr. to be in for when Ant's not playing so he can kind of play with the ball in his hands. And then I think you want him to look good in those moments so then you can increase his trade value because I really don't think he has a future as a starter on the Wolves because him and Ant just are never going to. He's a high volume scorer and it's really not that hard to find. There's a ton of guys that can score 30 points if you let them have the ball in their hands, but it's just how efficient are they with those 30 points.
Yep. TSJ needs to go to probably not a very good team and just get a lot of run out there.
Correct. And the kind of like Kaminga, the Hawks had a need for a guy like Kaminga more so than the Warriors. But I mean, yeah, Kaminga's been better than I thought he would with the Hawks, but I'd like to see him do it. He was good in for the Warriors in the playoffs against the Wolves last year when Steph got hurt. But
He was excellent.
yeah, so 76ers and Celtics, that one I think is going to end in 5.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll probably end in 5. It always depends on the Celtics obviously shoot so many threes. It always depends on how many of those they're gonna make. BJ Edgecombe, 30 points, 10 rebounds, first rookie with a 30-10 playoff game since Tim Duncan in 1998. I found that really interesting.
Yeah, he's going to be really good, but
Yeah.
I
So, you know, if 76ers can hit a ton of outside shots with Joel Embiid's absence, obviously they can make a game of it, and they're just gonna have to hope basically that the Celtics miss their shots. It's what it comes down to.
yeah, I mean, I think the 76ers are kind of without Joel Embiid are basically a worse version of the Celtics.
It's actually kind of a good way to look at it. I like that.
And with Joel Embiid, though, I don't think he actually helps in this matchup a whole lot just because you need to have speed and athleticism. Because if there's anything the Celtics are not good at is playing in transition, which is why I think VJ Edgecombe has been so successful against the Celtics is he brings that energy, but I mean Joel Embiid, their whole offense slows down, their whole offense changes. So I don't think even him being in the series really changes a whole lot.
I almost think they have a less of a chance with Joel Embiid somehow
Yeah.
to win
Well,
the series.
matchups matter for
Yeah.
different guys. And I think the 76ers have some interesting pieces. I think they're way too top heavy though. I think if I'm them, I try and move Paul George
Dude, that
potentially.
was such a terrible move to bring him in, and I knew it when they did it. I'm like, that's just a terrible move to bring in Paul George.
Paul George is basically, well, he's responsible for the worst trade, one of the worst trades in NBA history with the Thunder,
Uh,
and then gets traded. I mean, the guy he plays really good defense, but he's never gone to a team and improved to me their chances of winning a title. And he, in fact, is the only team he's won a title for is the Thunder.
the best Paul George to me was actually pre his injury on the
Yep.
Pacers. That was the
Yep.
best Paul George. I think that leg, it broke his leg or whatever. That really screwed his career up a little bit. Made him less of an athletic threat and more of the mid-range three-point shooter, kind of like you would see with a Durant. It really limited him.
Yep. So I think they need to move on him and build around Maxey and Edgecombe. I actually wouldn't even mind them. If I'm them, I would look at trying to move Embiid at this point, but I don't know what.
But who's going to take for that? And who's going to take Paul George, by the way? I don't know how many years he has, but he probably has to have a couple years. I don't know if anyone's going to take on Paul George. Like, because why would a good team want him? And then why would a bad team want to trade for him either? He just doesn't fit
Yeah, he
anywhere.
doesn't. I
He
can
doesn't
see it.
fit anywhere,
Yeah,
100%.
I could see like a bad team maybe trading for Embiid because he could bring some interest and maybe some fan attendance type
Dude, you're
stuff.
100%. I would totally agree with that take. Yes, I could see that.
But I can't see any. Yeah, Paul George, like he's not a really exciting player. He's not going to bring anybody to the games. And yeah, what he's getting paid is absolutely astronomical for the value he brings.
I
But
think he should
I
focus
think,
on his podcast.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm not a Paul George fan. I think I really like Tyrese Maxey. I like Edgecombe. That is the way I would build around. I don't think you want to pay 3 guys significant amount of money. I think you want to pay 2 and build the team around them.
They need to slow roll it. Maxey is young, Edgecombe's a rookie. Slow roll it a little bit. Just focus on those two guys. Build some pieces around them that fit. You don't need a third, you don't need a third star player. Just I would slow roll it a little bit if I was Philly. Naturally get better with those two players.
And then final series is Magic Pistons.
Boy. So obviously Magic is just kind of coming out swinging there. Their size has been a real issue, and they're actually bringing more physicality. They brought the physicality to Detroit last game, which that is Detroit's game. Duran was terrible. I think he had like 8 points and was super inefficient. And then Cade Cunningham was also very inefficient last game.
Yeah, it's weird because I think if the Pistons are playing any of the 76ers, Hawks, Raptors, I think they don't struggle with this. And I didn't see this coming, but I didn't watch a ton of Magic basketball, but they're honestly not intimidated at all by Detroit's size. In fact, most of their guys are bigger at each position and they are better at scoring the basket outside. I mean, Detroit has Cade, but Cade has not looked the same since him
Cade had
coming.
9 turnovers last game.
Yeah. I don't think Cade's looked that good since he came back from the collapsed lung, and I get it. It's kind of the same with Ant for us. A long injury right before the playoffs can be detrimental because you're not in game shape, and when everybody else is starting to turn things up, you're just trying to get back into a rhythm, and it just seems like he's completely out of rhythm. Like you say, Jalen Duren's been kind of embarrassed this series
And
by.
he's due for a big contract and really was on his way to a massive contract. And I'm sure he still is, but I'm just saying, yeah, he's been absolutely horrible. It might
Yeah.
make them think twice a little bit about giving him a massive contract. But again, they're most likely going to have to do it.
So I actually think the Magic are going to win this series.
I'm still going to roll with Pistons in 7.
So I think the Magic are giving the Pistons enough of an issue. I think they take it in 6. If it goes 7, I think I would flip over to Detroit just with that home game 7. But I don't know. It is far closer, I think, than anybody imagined.
No one imagined this, dude. Everyone was clowning Orlando, including me and you.
Yeah, we
So
both. I think we both said it.
Because Paulo was so inefficient. He was like literally the worst shooter, I think, in the NBA from an efficiency standpoint during the
Yeah,
regular
but he's
season.
been good in the playoffs, and he was good in the playoffs last year.
I liked him last year. I was a Paulo fan last year, of course, but he came in to this offseason. I think an Orlando Magic beat writer was saying that he came in really out of shape for some reason, gained all this weight. So yeah, I don't know. I liked him last year too, but now he's turning it on at the right time.
Yeah, so that's going to be my big upset. Is I think Magic are going to take out the Pistons, but I wouldn't be shocked either. I think it's a true like coin flip at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty coin flippy. I'll take Pistons in 7 though, but I totally understand why you would take Orlando at this point.
Overall, I think the most of the matchups have been pretty bad through the first round, which happens every year. I think we always forget that.
First round
Yeah,
NBA playoffs is kind of not the best.
well, it's awesome when you get into the semifinals and finals, but I think a lot of it is we've been as Wolves fans, you're so dialed into the Wolves, but there's some series that obviously I want the Wolves to intercept it, but a Spurs Thunder series would be fantastic. I think a Celtics versus Pistons would be a great series. I think a Celtics versus I don't I mean Cavs would be I think it would be interesting. I think Wolves and Spurs, or if I think Nuggets and Spurs would be interesting, but I don't think I would have picked the Spurs 2 weeks ago, and now or the Thunder or the Nuggets 2 weeks ago. Now I would definitely pick the Spurs because I think Minnesota's exposed Denver pretty badly, and I think the Spurs would be able to kind of figure that out too a little bit. But yeah, I mean, right now
I want to bring this up. Can you give me a prediction on Wolves Denver? How do you think it's going to go? Because we might not talk about it before the series ends. What's your final prediction these last few games?
it's either Wolves in 6 or Nuggets in 7. I don't but I think we can do it in 6. Again, I think our defense has been good enough that one of these 3 games we're gonna be able to fluster them enough, and again, that didn't have a lot to do with Ant, so that's where I mean, our offense isn't what's beating them, it's our defense, so we have shot the ball actually relatively poor,
If Aaron
and
Gordon was available, which he's, he's not, if he it does play in any of these last games, he's not going to be his best self,
yeah.
obviously. If Aaron Gordon was 100%, I would pick them in 7. And obviously, it might be 2-2 right now if they did have Aaron Gordon fully healthy these last games. But I'm going to pick Wolves in 6.
Yeah, so we're both kind of in agreement. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Wolves, like, do beat them in game 5 just because I think the Nuggets are kinda I mean, just listening to their quotes after the game,
They're down in the
they've
dumps.
quit. So, but alright, well, where do you have a kinda as you've watched the playoffs, a prediction on where you think the, most likely NBA Finals matchup would be?
Celtics OKC, probably.
Yeah, which that was my prediction before the playoffs started. It hasn't wavered at all, which I didn't expect it to be wavered at this point just because those 2 teams to me looked like the best in their conference going into the playoffs, and they've both outside of a weird game from the Celtics in game 2, but they do that almost every single year.
Man, if Ant didn't get injured, I'd probably have a spicy hot take that I think I would have said something this morning like the Wolves are going to go to the finals. Like I just had this feeling. But now this Ant injury just threw a wrench into that. So I don't know how I'm feeling. Just the way the team is playing, man. They're playing so good.
I'm
And
with
they
you.
still are, but
I'm with you. I mean, but at this point, with the injury and the uncertainty at this point, I can't realistically predict that. Just because even if he does come back, I don't know how effective he would be. If we do get him back, I'd hope it would be during a Spurs series because I just don't think he'd be in rhythm. And
I'll say
I we
game 3 like I said, but I probably won't happen game 3. I'm being pretty ballsy with that cuz that's just 2 weeks away, but
All right. Well, that's all I had today. David, thanks for joining me.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching us talk some basketball, and we'll be back before the weekend. Thanks.
Bye.